The text message arrived while she stood elbow-deep in buttercream. "I know you're not Lila, and I'm glad you came anyway." Nora Bennett had flour under her nails and cinnamon in her hair when she walked into Marceau, the kind of restaurant where the candles cost more than her weekly grocery bill. The maitre d' took one look at her cable-knit cardigan, pale blue, hand-knit fraying at the cuffs, and his smile thinned to a line. She smelled like vanilla extract and sea salt, remnants of a 14-hour shift at Sugar and Tide, the bakery she'd inherited from her grandmother 3 years ago. She spotted him immediately. Ethan Ward sat alone at a corner table, spine straight as the stem of his wine glass, charcoal suit sharp enough to cut. He wasn't scrolling through his phone. He wasn't glancing at his watch. He was simply waiting, gray eyes fixed on the entrance like he'd calculated her arrival to the second. Nora's stomach dropped. This was supposed to be Lila's night. Lila of the silk dresses and the art history degree, Lila who knew which fork to use. But Lila had called 3 hours ago, voice thick with tears over some marketing exec who'd ghosted her, and Nora had said yes before her brain caught up to her mouth. She crossed the marble floor, every footstep echoing. He stood when she reached the table. Polite, controlled. His hand extended for a shake, not a kiss on the cheek. "Lila," he said. "Nora," she corrected, not taking his hand. "Nora Bennett, I'm not the woman you were supposed to meet tonight." His eyebrows lifted half an inch, the only crack in his composure. "I see. My cousin Lila had an emergency. I told her this was a terrible idea, but she insisted someone show up because your assistant apparently coordinated this blind date 6 weeks ago, and she didn't want to be rude." The words tumbled out faster than she meant them to. "So here I am. Apologies for the bait and switch. You can leave if you want. I won't be offended." A pause. Long enough for the pianist in the corner to finish one piece and begin another. Then Ethan Ward pulled out her chair. "Sit." "Excuse me? You came all the way here. The reservation is for 2 hours. It would be wasteful to leave now." He gestured to the seat. "Besides, I've never met a woman who leads with full disclosure. That's either refreshing or catastrophic. I'd like to find out which." Nora sat. The waiter appeared with menus bound in leather and a wine list thicker than her recipe binder. Ethan ordered sparkling water and asked what she wanted. "Coffee," she said. "Black. Strong." The waiter's left eye twitched. "We don't typically serve." "They have an espresso machine in the back," Ethan said quietly, not looking up from the menu. "Double shot. No sugar." The waiter vanished. Nora leaned back. "You come here often?" "Once a month. Board dinners." He set the menu down. "You don't." "I can't afford the valet parking, let alone the entrees." Honest again. The corner of his mouth moved. Not quite a smile, but close. "Your cousin must be very persuasive." "She's very sad." Nora folded her hands on the table. Her last 3 dates ghosted her after seeing her Instagram. Apparently she doesn't photograph well in person, which is code for, "You're not thin enough." So when your assistant reached out through some networking app, she thought maybe a blind date would level the field, and you agreed to come in her place. "I agreed to show up and explain, that's it." She met his eyes. "You're not what I expected either." "How so?" "You're supposed to be cold." That's what Lila said. Ethan Ward, the CEO with the frozen heart, never smiles in photos. Fired 3 VPs in 1 quarter. Walks past homeless people like they're street signs. She tilted her head. "But you just made sure I got coffee. So either you're defrosting, or the rumors are wrong." His expression didn't change, but something shifted behind his eyes. The rumors are rarely wrong. They're just incomplete. The coffee arrived. Nora wrapped both hands around the cup, letting the heat seep into her palms. She'd been up since 4:30 that morning, prepping croissants and cinnamon rolls, and exhaustion was starting to blur the edges of her vision. "Why did you stay?" she asked. "Because you told the truth." He leaned forward an inch. "In my line of work, that's rarer than you'd think." Dinner unfolded in careful increments. Ethan ordered for both of them. Not presumptuous, just efficient. asking her preferences first, and the plates arrived like clockwork. Seared scallops with lemon foam, roasted duck breast with blackberry reduction. Each dish tasted like something engineered in a lab, technically perfect but oddly distant from actual hunger. Nora picked at her food. Ethan ate methodically, knife and fork moving in straight lines. "You run a bakery," he said. Statement, not question. Sugar and Tide. Coastal Road, 20 minutes south. We do custom cakes, daily pastries, the occasional wedding order. She set her fork down. "How did you know?" "Your hands." He nodded at the faint burn scar along her thumb. "Oven? Bunt pan, last Tuesday." She turned her hand over, examining the mark like she'd forgotten it was there. "You're observant. Occupational hazard." He refilled her water glass without asking. "How long have you been running it?" 3 years. My grandmother left it to me when she passed. I was working in a corporate test kitchen before that. Long hours, no windows, recipes designed by committee. This was supposed to be temporary. Then I realized I didn't want to leave. "Do you make a profit?" Nora laughed, short and sharp. "Define profit. I pay my staff. I keep the lights on. Some months I eat ramen for 2 weeks straight, but the business stays open." She leaned forward. "Why do you care?" "I'm trying to understand why someone would choose exhaustion over security." "Because security is just another word for boredom." She met his gaze. "You know that, or you wouldn't be sitting here with a stranger instead of going home to your penthouse." His jaw tightened. "I don't have a penthouse." "Townhouse, then. Something with crown molding and a view." "Townhouse," he admitted. "No view. My mother lives with me." That stopped her. "Your mother?" "Evelyn Ward, 71, recovering from a stroke she had 2 years ago." He spoke without inflection, the way someone recites facts they've memorized to avoid feeling them. "She can't live alone. I hired a nurse, but she fired 3 of them in 6 months. So I rearranged my schedule." Nora set her coffee cup down. "That's why you're cold." "Excuse me? People think you're heartless because you don't waste time on small talk. But you're not cold. You're tired." She leaned back. "I know that look. I see it in the mirror every morning." For the first time all night, Ethan Ward looked genuinely surprised. 3 days later, Nora's phone buzzed during the morning rush. She ignored it. 5 customers deep in the queue, a wedding cake consultation at noon, and the espresso machine making a noise that sounded expensive. The phone buzzed again, then again. She wiped her hands on her apron and checked the screen. 3 texts from an unknown number. "This is Ethan Ward. I apologize for the informality. My mother saw a photo of you from the restaurant. She's insisting you come to the house. She wants to learn how to make cinnamon rolls." Nora stared at the messages. Then she laughed loud enough that her assistant, Maya, looked up from the pastry case. "What? I think I just got summoned by a billionaire's mom." The Ward townhouse sat behind iron gates on a street where even the trees looked expensive. Nora parked her decade-old sedan between a Tesla and a Mercedes, feeling like she'd accidentally wandered into a car commercial. Ethan answered the door himself. He'd traded the suit for dark jeans and a gray sweater, sleeves pushed to his elbows. He looked almost human. "She's in the kitchen," he said. "Fair warning. She doesn't take no for an answer." Evelyn Ward sat at the island in a wheelchair, silver hair pinned back, reading glasses perched on her nose. She had Ethan's sharp eyes and none of his restraint. "You're late," she said. "I'm early," Nora replied, checking her watch. "By 10 minutes, Evelyn smiled. "I like you already." The kitchen was enormous. Marble counters, double ovens, a stand mixer that probably cost more than Nora's car, and completely unused. No flour dust in the corners. No stains on the cutting boards. It looked like a showroom, sterile and sad. Nora set her bag on the counter. "When's the last time someone actually cooked in here?" 2 years, Evelyn said quietly. "Before the stroke. I used to make bread every Sunday. Then let's start there." Nora pulled out her recipe binder, pages warped from butter stains and oven heat. "Cinnamon rolls are temperamental, but if you can make bread, you can make anything." They worked side by side, Evelyn's hands slower now, but steady. muscle memory kicking in as soon as she touched the dough. Nora guided without hovering, and Ethan leaned against the door frame, watching his mother laugh for the first time in months. When the rolls came out of the oven, golden and perfect, Evelyn insisted they eat one immediately. Ethan poured coffee, and for 20 minutes the house smelled like warmth instead of medicine. "You should come back," Evelyn said, licking icing from her thumb. "Every Sunday. Teach me something new." Nora glanced at Ethan. He nodded once, so slight she almost missed it. "Deal," she said, as she packed her things to leave. Ethan walked her to the door. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For giving her something to look forward to." He paused, one hand on the doorframe. "And for not treating her like she's broken." Nora adjusted her bag. "She's not broken. She's just healing." She was halfway to her car when he called after her. "Nora," she turned. "The coffee shop on 5th Street. Tomorrow morning, 7:30. His expression didn't change, but his voice softened. "I'd like to continue our conversation." "Is this a date?" "It's coffee." He almost smiled. "We'll figure out the rest from there." The coffee meetings became routine. Every Tuesday and Thursday, 7:30 sharp, the corner table by the window. Ethan brought his tablet and worked through emails while Nora sketched cake designs on napkins. They didn't talk much, just sat in companionable silence. Two people stealing an hour of calm before their days exploded. On the 4th week, his assistant called during breakfast. "Problem," Ethan said, setting his phone down. "Charity gala tonight. My mother was supposed to attend with me, but her physical therapist just called. She's overextended her shoulder. Doctor's orders rest." Nora sipped her coffee. "So cancel. I'm the keynote speaker. 500 guests. Donors who've been courted for 6 months. He rubbed his temple. "I need someone who can navigate a room full of socialites without flinching. Then call Lila. She's great at that stuff." "I'm not asking Lila." He met her eyes. "I'm asking you. Why?" "Because you don't perform. You just exist. And in a room full of people performing, that's invaluable." Nora looked down at her flour-dusted jeans. "I don't own a gown. There's a boutique 3 blocks from here. My mother's stylist is waiting for you at 9. He slid a black card across the table. "Considerate payment for the cinnamon rolls." She stared at the card. "This is insane." "Yes," he almost smiled. "But you'll do it anyway." The gala took place in a converted museum, all marble columns and champagne towers. Nora wore a dress the color of midnight. Simple, sleeveless, a single line of silver beading at the waist. The stylist had pulled her hair back in a low twist and told her to keep her jewelry minimal. She felt like an imposter. Ethan met her at the entrance, sharp in a tuxedo that probably cost more than her monthly rent. His eyes scanned her once, then held. "You look uncomfortable," she finished. "I was going to say beautiful." He offered his arm. "Ready?" They made it 10 feet into the ballroom before the vultures descended. A woman in crimson silk cornered them first. Champagne flute tilted at a dangerous angle. "Ethan Ward, how long has it been?" "And who is this?" "Nora Bennett," Ethan said smoothly. "She owns Sugar and Tide, a bakery down the coast." "Nora, this is Margot Sinclair. She runs the Sinclair Foundation." Margot's smile sharpened. "A baker, how quaint, how essential," Nora corrected. "People need bread more than they need galas." The champagne flute paused halfway to Margot's lips. Then she laughed loud and genuine. "Oh, I like her." "Ethan, don't screw this one up." She drifted away and Nora exhaled. "Did I just make an enemy?" "No, you made her respect you." "That's rarer." He guided her toward the bar. "Water or wine?" "Water. I need to stay sharp if I'm surviving this night." The next 2 hours blurred into a parade of handshakes and air kisses. Ethan introduced her as his guest, nothing more, but the speculation rippled through the room like a current. She caught fragments of conversation. "Who is she?" "Not his usual type." "Did you see the dress?" "Last season, definitely." At 8:30, a man in his 60s approached, silver-haired and too friendly. Richard something, a board member from Ethan's company. He shook Nora's hand and held it a beat too long. "So you're the reason Ethan's been smiling lately." "I'm the reason he's been eating too many carbs," Nora replied, extracting her hand. Richard laughed, but his eyes stayed cold. "You must be very special. Ethan doesn't bring just anyone to these events." "Richard," Ethan said quietly, stepping closer. "We're done here." Of course, of course." Richard raised his glass. "Enjoy the evening." When he left, Nora turned to Ethan. What was that about? Politics. He wants my vote on a merger I'm blocking. And he thinks getting to me will change your mind? He thinks everyone has a price. Ethan's jaw tightened. He's wrong. At 9, the lights dimmed for the keynote. Ethan took the stage and Nora watched from the side of the room. He spoke about infrastructure investment, community partnerships, sustainable growth, dry topics delivered with precision. But when he mentioned his mother's stroke and the gaps in healthcare access, his voice cracked just once, so slight most people missed it. Nora didn't. When he finished, the applause was polite but distant. He'd given them facts when they wanted emotion. As he descended the stairs, a reporter from some society blog intercepted him, camera flashing. "Mr. Ward, quick question. Is this a new relationship?" "Your guest tonight, she's not on the usual circuit." "No comment," Ethan said, moving past. The reporter pivoted to Nora. "And you are?" Nora smiled, the same smile she used on difficult customers. "Someone who's leaving." She turned and walked toward the exit, not waiting to see if Ethan followed. He caught up to her in the lobby, loosening his bow tie. "You handled that perfectly. I handled that terribly. I'm not built for this world." She leaned against the marble wall. "These people, they don't see you. They see your net worth and your last name and what you can do for them. It's exhausting." "Yes." He stood beside her, shoulders touching. "It is." They stood in silence for a moment, the noise of the gala muffled behind thick doors. "Thank you for coming," he said finally. "I know this wasn't easy. It wasn't awful either." She glanced at him. "At least the champagne was decent." He almost laughed. "I'll take you home." If you're wondering what happens when two people from different worlds keep colliding, drop a comment below and hit subscribe. This story is just getting started. The Sunday cooking lessons became sacred. Every week, Nora arrived at 9 with ingredients and a new recipe, and Evelyn's physical therapist scheduled around them. They made focaccia with rosemary, lemon tarts with burnt meringue, braided challah that took 3 hours and left the kitchen smelling like honey. Ethan watched from the sidelines, pretending to work on his laptop but really just listening to his mother laugh. On the 6th Sunday, Evelyn looked up from kneading dough, flour dusting her forearms. "Ethan, stop lurking. Come help. I don't bake. You don't try." She pointed at the empty bowl. "Measure the sugar. 3/4 cup." He stood slowly like someone approaching a live wire. Nora handed him the measuring cup and a bag of sugar, trying not to smile. "Level it off," she instructed. "Not packed, just level." He measured with the same precision he brought to spreadsheets. Exact, controlled, no room for error. When he dumped the sugar into the bowl, a small cloud of white powder puffed into the air and Evelyn laughed so hard she had to sit down. "What?" Ethan asked, genuinely confused. "You measured it like you're running a board meeting," Nora said. "Baking isn't about control. It's about feel." "Feel," he repeated, skeptical. "Here." She scooped a handful of dough and pressed it into his palm. "Tell me what this needs." He frowned at the dough, then squeezed experimentally. "It's sticky, which means..." "More flour?" "Good." She handed him the bag. "Add it a tablespoon at a time until it stops clinging to your hands." He worked slowly, methodically, adding flour and kneading until the dough transformed into something smooth and elastic. When he finally looked up, there was flour on his cheek and the faintest hint of satisfaction in his eyes. "Not bad," Nora said. Evelyn beamed. "He's a natural." They ate lunch together that afternoon, sandwiches made from yesterday's bread, simple and perfect. Evelyn told stories about Ethan as a child, back when he used to finger paint and laugh at cartoons before responsibility calcified him into someone unbreakable. "He was sweet," she said, smiling at her son, "always trying to fix things." When his father left, Ethan was 7. He started making me coffee every morning. Terrible coffee, too much sugar, but he did it anyway. Ethan stared at his plate. "I don't remember that." "I do." Evelyn reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "You've been taking care of me your whole life. Maybe it's time someone took care of you." Her gaze shifted to Nora, pointed and deliberate. Nora cleared her throat. "I should get going. I have orders to prep for tomorrow." As she gathered her things, Ethan walked her to the door. They stood on the porch, late afternoon sun slanting through the trees. "She's not subtle," he said. "No." Nora adjusted her bag. "But she's not wrong either." He looked at her for a long moment. "What does that mean?" "It means you've built your life around duty. Work, your mother obligations. But when's the last time you did something just because you wanted to? I wanted to have coffee with you. Then have dinner with me." The words came out before she could stop them. "Friday night. Not at Marceau. Somewhere normal. Somewhere you don't have to perform." His expression shifted. Surprise, then something warmer. "Where?" "My place. I'll cook. You bring wine. We'll eat like regular people who don't have assistants and board meetings. I don't know how to be a regular person. Then I'll teach you." She smiled. 7 o'clock. "Don't be late." She walked to her car, heart pounding, wondering if she'd just made a mistake or the smartest decision of her life. Friday arrived in a blur of prep work and second-guessing. Nora cleaned her apartment, a studio above the bakery, small but bright, with mismatched furniture and plants on every surface. She made pasta from scratch, simple carbonara, because fancy felt like trying too hard. Ethan arrived at 7 exactly, holding a bottle of wine that probably cost more than her couch. He'd traded the suit for dark jeans and a navy sweater, and he looked almost nervous. "This is your place," he said. Stepping inside, "It's small. It's lived in." He looked around, the sagging bookshelf, the herbs growing in mason jars on the windowsill, the framed photo of her grandmother. It's nice. They ate at her tiny kitchen table, knees almost touching. The pasta was good, the wine better, and the conversation flowed easier than it ever had in public. They talked about everything and nothing. Her grandmother's recipes, his first job out of business school, the stray cat that lived behind the bakery. "I feed him," Nora admitted. "Every morning. Tuna and cream. Maya thinks I'm going to end up with 20 cats, are you?" "Probably." She refilled his glass. "What about you? Any secret soft spots?" He considered the question. "I read poetry. Excuse me, poetry. Late at night when I can't sleep. Neruda mostly. Sometimes Rumi." He looked almost embarrassed. "It's the only thing that slows my brain down." Nora leaned back, studying him. "Ethan Ward reads love poetry. That's going to destroy your reputation. Only if you tell. Your secret's safe with me." They cleaned up together, moving around the small kitchen like they'd done it 100 times. When the dishes were done, Ethan checked his watch. "I should go. Early meeting tomorrow." Of course, but he didn't move. He stood by the door, one hand on the frame, looking at her like he was solving an equation. "Thank you," he said finally. "For what?" "For this. For reminding me what normal feels like." Then he left, and Nora stood in her empty apartment, wondering when normal had started feeling like not enough. The call came at 2 in the morning. Nora woke to her phone buzzing on the nightstand, Ethan's name on the screen. "Hello?" Her voice came out rough with sleep. "I'm sorry to call so late," he sounded strained. "It's my mother. She fell. We're at St. Catherine's Hospital. The ER." Nora was already out of bed, pulling on jeans. "Is she okay?" "They're running tests." She was dizzy, lost her balance. Hit her head on the kitchen counter. His voice cracked. "There's blood." I'm coming." 20 minutes. She broke 3 traffic laws getting there. The ER waiting room smelled like antiseptic and bad coffee. Ethan sat in a plastic chair, still in his pajama pants and a t-shirt, blood on his sleeve. When he saw her, something in his face shifted. Relief or maybe just exhaustion. "You didn't have to come," he said. "Yes, I did." She sat beside him. "What did the doctors say?" "Possible concussion. They're doing a CT scan to rule out bleeding." He stared at the linoleum floor. "I should have been there. I was asleep. I didn't hear her get up." "Ethan, you can't watch her every second. I promised I would." His hands clenched into fists. "After the stroke, I promised her she'd never be alone. And tonight you were human. You slept. That's not a crime." They sat in silence for a while, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Nora noticed his hands were shaking. "When's the last time you ate?" she asked. "I don't know." "Yesterday?" "Lunch, maybe." She stood. "Stay here. I'll be back." The hospital cafeteria was closed, but she found a vending machine down the hall. She bought 2 granola bars, a bottle of water, and a package of cookies that looked like they'd been there since 2019. When she returned, Ethan hadn't moved. She handed him the granola bar. Eat. I'm not eat. Or I'll call your mother and tell her you're not taking care of yourself. He ate. At 3:30, a doctor emerged, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and tired lines around her mouth. Mr. Ward? Ethan stood so fast he nearly knocked over his chair. How is she? She's stable. No intracranial bleeding, mild concussion, 3 stitches above her left eyebrow. We're keeping her overnight for observation, but she should be fine. The doctor smiled. She's asking for you. The relief on Ethan's face was so raw it hurt to watch. They let Nora come back with him. Evelyn lay in a hospital bed, pale but alert, a white bandage stark against her silver hair. When she saw them, she tried to smile. I told you I'm fine, she said to Ethan. Stop looking like I'm dying. You fell. His voice was barely above a whisper. You hit your head, and I'll have a nice scar to show for it. She reached for his hand. I'm okay, sweetheart. I promise. He sat on the edge of the bed and lowered his forehead to her palm. Just for a moment, a gesture so small and broken it felt like witnessing something sacred. Nora turned away, giving them privacy, and found herself staring at a chart on the wall. Patient vitals, medication schedules, times and dates logged with careful precision. When Evelyn fell asleep 20 minutes later, Ethan finally stood. He looked hollowed out like someone had scooped everything essential from inside him. Come on, Nora said gently. I'm taking you home. She drove his car, a sleek black sedan that probably cost more than her entire year's salary, while he sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window. The streets were empty, the city asleep. I can't do this anymore, he said suddenly. Do what? Pretend I'm holding everything together. His voice was flat. I built this life, the company, the routines, the control, because if I controlled enough, nothing bad would happen. But it doesn't work. Bad things happen anyway. People fall, people leave, and all the spreadsheets and schedules in the world don't stop it. Nora pulled into his driveway and cut the engine. You're right. They don't. Then what's the point? The point is that you show up anyway. She turned to face him. You can't control everything, but you can choose to be there when it matters. And tonight you were there. You called the ambulance. You stayed with her. You did everything right. It doesn't feel like enough. It never does. She reached across the console and took his hand. But it's what we have. So we do it anyway. He looked down at their joined hands, her fingers rough from work, his clean and careful. Then he squeezed once so tight it almost hurt. Thank you, he whispered. For what? For showing up. For being here. He met her eyes. For making me feel less alone. They sat in the dark car for a long time, not talking, just breathing in sync. 2 weeks passed. Evelyn recovered quickly, though the fall had shaken her more than she admitted. The Sunday baking lessons continued, but Nora noticed the change. Evelyn moved more carefully now, checked her balance before standing, kept one hand on the counter, and Ethan watched her like a hawk. You need to stop, Evelyn said one afternoon, rolling dough for apple turnovers. Hovering. I can feel you staring. I'm not hovering. You're standing 3 feet away with your arms crossed, watching me like I'm about to spontaneously combust. She pointed a flour-dusted finger at him. Go sit with Nora. Let me work in peace. He retreated to the island where Nora was sketching a wedding cake design. She glanced up, sympathetic. She's going to kick you out of your own kitchen. She already did, twice this week. He sat on the stool beside her. I know I'm being overbearing. I can't help it. You're scared. That's normal. It's exhausting. They worked in companionable silence for a while, Evelyn humming as she crimped pastry, the kitchen warm with the smell of butter and cinnamon. Outside, rain had started to fall, soft and steady. At 4 o'clock, Evelyn's physical therapist arrived for their session. Nora started packing up her things, but Evelyn caught her wrist. Stay for dinner, she said. Both of you. I'm making chicken piccata, Ethan's favorite. Mom, you don't have to. I want to. She looked between them, her expression pointed. Besides, it's time you two stop pretending this is just about baking lessons. Nora's face heated. Mrs. Ward, Evelyn, and don't argue. She wheeled toward the stove. Set the table. 3 places. Dinner was chaotic in the best way. Evelyn told stories about Ethan's childhood. The time he'd tried to build a rocket in the backyard, the ill-fated middle school science fair, the summer he'd read War and Peace just to prove he could. He was insufferable, she said fondly. 13 years old and already lecturing me about compound interest. I was trying to help with the mortgage, Ethan protested. You were a child. You should have been playing video games and failing math tests like a normal kid. I didn't fail anything. I know. That was the problem. They laughed. And Nora realized this was what family was supposed to feel like. Messy and warm and full of stories that got better with retelling. After dinner, Evelyn excused herself to rest and Nora helped Ethan clean up. They moved around the kitchen in easy rhythm now, no longer strangers navigating unfamiliar territory. She likes you, Ethan said, loading the dishwasher. I like her, too. No, I mean she really likes you. She hasn't been this happy since before the stroke. He straightened, drying his hands on a towel. You've given her something to look forward to. He stopped, searching for the word. That's everything. Nora set down the dish she was holding. Ethan, I need to tell you something. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed, his defensive posture, the one he wore in board meetings. But his voice was soft. When my father left, I was 7. My mother worked 3 jobs to keep us afloat. I swore I'd never let her struggle again. So I studied, built the company, made enough money that she'd never worry. He looked at the floor, but then she had the stroke. And all that money, all that success, and it couldn't fix her. It couldn't protect her. I realized I'd spent 20 years trying to control the uncontrollable. And? Nora prompted gently. And then you walked into Marceau wearing a cardigan and told me the truth. You didn't perform. You didn't want anything from me. You just existed, honestly. He met her eyes. I didn't know people still did that. The rain outside had picked up, drumming against the windows. Nora took a step closer. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm falling for you. The words came out rough, like something torn loose. And I don't know what to do with that. I don't date. I don't have time for relationships. My life is schedules and obligations, and she kissed him. It wasn't planned. It wasn't calculated. She just stepped forward and pressed her lips to his, soft and certain, and he froze for half a second before his hands came up to cup her face. The kiss tasted like lemon and sugar, and possibility. When they broke apart, they were both breathing hard. I'm falling for you too, Nora whispered, and it's terrifying. Because I'm not built for your world. I can't do galas and board meetings and reporters. I'm just someone who shows up, someone who tells the truth, someone who makes my mother laugh and teaches me how to knead dough and calls me at 2 a.m. because she knows I need her. He rested his forehead against hers. That's not just anything. That's everything. The kitchen timer beeped. The turnovers, done. They pulled apart, both smiling, and Nora reached for the oven mitts. We should check on those before they burn. In a minute, he caught her wrist, gentle. I need you to know this isn't casual for me. I don't know what we're doing or where this goes, but I need you to know you matter. You and your flour-stained jeans and your terrible coffee and your refusal to be impressed by money. You matter. She looked up at him. This man who'd spent his life building walls, now standing in his mother's kitchen with his guard down and his heart visible. You matter, too, she said. They stayed like that for a long moment, the rain outside and the kitchen warm, until the timer beeped again and reality reasserted itself. But something had shifted, something fundamental and irreversible. They'd stopped pretending. 3 days later, the first photo appeared. Nora was frosting a birthday cake when Maya burst through the kitchen door, phone in hand. You need to see this. It was a gossip blog, Society Snap or some variation, and the headline made her stomach drop. Ice King melts? Ethan Ward spotted in cozy dinner with Mystery Baker. The photo was grainy but clear enough. Her and Ethan outside her apartment building, his hand on her lower back, both of them smiling. The timestamp read Friday, 11:47 p.m. Where did they get this? Nora breathed. Does it matter? Maya scrolled down. Look at the comments. Gold digger alert. How long before she accidentally gets pregnant? Bet she planned this. Bakery owner snags billionaire. Classic. She's pretty, I guess, if you like the whole I just rolled out of bed look. Nora set the frosting bag down carefully. This is bad. This is publicity. You could... No. She was already untying her apron. I need to call Ethan. She tried his cell, voicemail, she tried his office. His assistant, cool, professional, said he was in meetings all day and couldn't be disturbed. Tell him Nora Bennett called. It's important. I'll pass along the message. The message never came. By noon, the story had spread. 3 more blogs picked it up, each adding their own speculation. One claimed she'd been planning to trap him from the beginning. Another dug up her financial records, public information but mortifying nonetheless, and highlighted her debts. A third interviewed someone claiming to be a source close to Ward, who said Ethan had been blindsided by her manipulative behavior. Nora's phone buzzed nonstop. Unknown numbers. Emails from reporters. A DM from someone offering to sell her story to a tabloid. At 2 o'clock, a black SUV pulled up outside the bakery. A man in a dark suit stepped out, expressionless. Miss Bennett? I'm David Chen, head of security for Ward Enterprises. Mr. Ward asked me to escort you somewhere private. Where's Ethan? In crisis management meetings. The board is concerned about optics. David opened the car door. Please. He wanted to make sure you were safe. The somewhere private turned out to be a conference room in Ward Enterprises headquarters. Sterile, windowless with a long glass table and chairs that cost more than her oven. David left her there alone. She waited 20 minutes before a woman entered. Tall, severe, with a burgundy suit and a tablet under her arm. She didn't offer a handshake. Miss Bennett. I'm Patricia Moore, head of communications for Ward Enterprises. She sat across the table, precise. We need to discuss how to handle this situation. What situation? I didn't do anything wrong. Perception isn't about truth. It's about narrative. Patricia opened her tablet. Right now, the narrative is that you're an opportunist. We need to change that. How? First, no more public appearances with Mr. Ward. No restaurants, no events, no photographs. Second, we draft a statement clarifying that you two are simply friends. Third, you sign an NDA regarding any details of his personal life. Nora stared at her. You want me to lie. I want you to protect his reputation. And yours. Patricia's voice softened infinitesimally. Miss Bennett, I've been doing this for 15 years. I know how these stories end. You seem like a good person. But good people get destroyed by bad press every day. If you care about him, you'll step back. Did Ethan ask you to say this? Mr. Ward asked me to protect you. This is how I'm doing that. The door opened. Ethan walked in, still in his suit from the morning. Tie loosened, exhaustion carved into every line of his face. When he saw Nora, he stopped. Patricia, leave us. Sir, I really think... Now. Patricia gathered her things and left. The door clicking shut behind her. Silence stretched between them, thick and suffocating. I didn't know they were going to ambush you, Ethan said finally. I told David to bring you somewhere safe, not... He gestured at the conference room. This. What did Patricia mean, step back? His jaw tightened. She thinks it's best if we pause. Let the story die down. Pause. As in stop seeing each other. Temporarily. Nora laughed, bitter. So the second things get difficult, you disappear. That's not... What would you call it? She stood, gripping the edge of the table. You said I mattered. You said this wasn't casual. But the moment your board gets nervous, you're already drafting exit strategies. I'm trying to protect you. I don't need protection. I need honesty. Her voice cracked. I need you to decide if I'm worth fighting for, or if I'm just another problem you need to manage. He opened his mouth, then closed it. And in that hesitation, that single fatal pause, Nora saw everything she needed to know. Got it, she said quietly. She grabbed her bag and walked toward the door. Nora, wait, don't. She turned and she was crying now, angry and broken. Don't call me. Don't send your assistant. Don't show up at my bakery with apologies and explanations. You made your choice. Live with it. She left and he didn't follow. Nora didn't go back to the bakery. She drove to the beach instead, parked on the empty overlook, and sat in her car while the sun set, and her phone buzzed with messages she didn't read. When she finally got home at midnight, Maya was waiting on the stairs to her apartment. Arms crossed. You look like hell, Maya said. Thanks. What happened? Nora told her everything. The conference room. Patricia's proposal. Ethan's hesitation. Maya listened without interrupting, her expression darkening with each detail. So he chose his board over you. He chose safety over risk. I can't blame him for that. Yes, you can, Maya stood. You deserve someone who doesn't need a PR strategy to be with you. Come on. Let's get drunk and talk about how much we hate rich people. They didn't get drunk. Nora had orders due at 6 a.m., but they did eat ice cream directly from the container and watch terrible reality TV until 3 in the morning. It helped a little. The next 2 weeks were a blur of forced normalcy. Nora worked 16-hour days, filling every moment with frosting and dough and the mechanical rhythm of creation. She didn't go to the ward house on Sunday. She didn't answer Evelyn's calls. On day 12, a letter arrived at the bakery. Cream-colored envelope, elegant script. No return address. Inside, a single page in Evelyn's handwriting. Nora, I don't know what happened between you and my son, but I know him. He's terrified of losing people, so he pushes them away first. It's not fair to you. It's not right. But it's what he does. That doesn't mean you have to forgive him, but please don't punish an old woman for her son's cowardice. I miss you. The kitchen misses you. Come back. Even if it's just for cinnamon rolls. Evelyn. Nora folded the letter and tucked it in her apron pocket. She didn't cry. She'd used up all her tears. On day 14, the second story broke. This time it wasn't a gossip blog. It was a business journal, reputable, widely read, and the headline was devastating. Ward Enterprises under investigation, allegations of financial misconduct. The article was meticulous. It outlined suspicious transactions dating back 18 months. Offshore accounts, questionable real estate deals. The evidence was circumstantial but damning. And buried in the 5th paragraph was a name that made Nora's blood run cold. Richard Brennan, former board member, now turned whistleblower. Richard, the man from the gala who'd held her hand too long and asked too many questions. Maya read the article over her shoulder. This is bad. This is targeted. Nora scrolled through the details. Look at the timing. 2 weeks after we were photographed together. They're trying to destroy him. Or destroy his credibility so he can't fight back against something worse. Maya pointed at a line near the end. Look. Sources close to Ward suggest the CEO has been distracted by personal entanglements leading to decreased oversight. They're blaming you. I need to call him. Why? He made his choice. Because this isn't about us anymore. This is about someone weaponizing our relationship to take him down. Nora grabbed her phone. And if I don't help, I'm complicit, she called. Voicemail, she called again. Still voicemail. On the 3rd try, a woman answered. Not his assistant. Someone older, professional, careful. This is Diane Foster, Mr. Ward's attorney. Who's calling? Nora Bennett. I need to speak with Ethan. Miss Bennett. The name came out cold. Mr. Ward is currently unavailable. If this is regarding the recent articles, I'd advise you to retain your own legal counsel. I don't need a lawyer. I need to... Miss Bennett, anything you say from this point forward can and will be used in the ongoing investigation. For your own protection, I'm ending this call. The line went dead. Nora stared at her phone, the screen dark and unforgiving. She'd been locked out. Completely. The next morning, 3 reporters showed up at Sugar and Tide before opening. They wanted a statement. They wanted details about her relationship with Ethan. They wanted to know if she'd been aware of the financial irregularities. Maya chased them off with a rolling pin and a creative string of profanity. You need to leave town, she said, locking the front door. Just for a few days. Let this blow over. I can't abandon the bakery, I'll handle it. You need to disappear before this gets worse. That afternoon, Nora packed a bag and drove north to a cabin her grandmother had owned. 3 hours up the coast. No Wi-Fi, no cell service. Just silence and the sound of waves and the crushing weight of everything she'd lost. She stayed there for 5 days. On the 6th morning, she woke to find her phone had 1 bar of signal. 17 missed calls. 34 texts, all from the same number. Evelyn, the most recent message sent 4 hours ago. Please come home. Ethan is in trouble. He needs you. Nora stared at the words for a long time. Then she packed her bag and drove back. The Ward townhouse looked different at night. Shadows deep, windows dark except for a single light in the study. Nora stood on the porch for a full minute before she rang the bell. Evelyn answered. She looked smaller than Nora remembered, frailer, and there were new lines around her eyes. Thank God, she breathed, pulling Nora inside. I was afraid you wouldn't come. What happened? Come upstairs, I'll show you. The study was chaos. Papers covered every surface: bank statements, emails, contracts, ledgers. Ethan sat at the desk, shirt sleeves rolled up, hair uncombed, dark circles carved beneath his eyes. He looked up when they entered, and his expression cycled through surprise, relief, and something that looked like shame. "You came," he said. "Your mother called. 17 times. Nora stayed by the door. "What's going on?" "Someone's trying to frame me." He gestured at the papers. "These transactions, the offshore accounts, the real estate deals, I didn't authorize any of them, but my signature is on every document." "Forged?" "Perfectly forged. Right down to the pressure points in my pen strokes." He stood, picking up a contract. "Look, this is dated March 15th, supposedly signed by me at 3:47 p.m., but I was in Tokyo that day. I have the flight records, the hotel receipts, the meeting notes." Nora stepped closer, examining the signature. "Who had access to your documents?" "Board members, executive assistants, my legal team." He set the contract down. "It's a long list. But one name keeps appearing," Evelyn said quietly. She wheeled forward and tapped a stack of papers. "Richard Brennan, former board member. He was at every meeting where these deals were discussed. He had access to Ethan's office, and he resigned 3 weeks before the story broke." Nora's stomach tightened. "The man from the gala?" "Yes." Ethan met her eyes. "He asked about you that night. Personal questions. I thought he was fishing for leverage. I didn't realize he was already building a case." "Why would he do this?" "Because I blocked his merger. 15 months ago, he wanted Ward Enterprises to acquire a tech startup. Looked good on paper, but the due diligence revealed financial irregularities. I killed the deal. He lost millions in anticipated stock options." Ethan's jaw tightened. "He's been waiting for revenge." Nora looked at the mountain of evidence. "Can you prove he forged these documents?" "Not yet. We'd need the original files, the ones with the genuine timestamps and authentication codes. But Richard had them purged from the server when he resigned. There are backups, but they're encrypted. My IT team has been trying to crack them for 8 days." "What happens if you can't?" "The SEC investigation continues. The board votes me out. Ward Enterprises gets dismantled and sold for parts. Everything my mother and I built for 20 years, gone." The silence stretched, heavy with impossible odds. Then Evelyn spoke. "But we have something Richard doesn't." Both Ethan and Nora turned to her. "We have the paper trail," Evelyn continued. "The physical documents. When Ethan started the company, I kept copies of everything. Old habit from when his father left us with nothing." She gestured to a file cabinet in the corner. "I have the original contracts, the real signatures, the board meeting minutes, everything filed by date." Ethan stared at his mother. "You kept paper records for 20 years? I'm old-fashioned. Sue me." She smiled. "Start looking. March 15th. If Ethan was in Tokyo, there can't be an original signature from that day." They tore through the files. Nora organized by date while Ethan cross-referenced against the forged documents. At 2 a.m., they found it. The March 15th contract. The original, unsigned, with a note in the margin, "Postponed. E.W. traveling. Reschedule April 2. "There," Nora said, holding it up. "This proves you never signed in March. The forged version has to be fabricated." "But we still need the digital evidence," Ethan said. "The server logs, the metadata. Without those, a good lawyer can argue the paper trail was manipulated too. Then we find someone who can break the encryption." A voice from the doorway made them all jump. "I can help with that." A young woman stood there, mid-20s, black hair pulled back in a messy bun, laptop under her arm. She wore jeans and a hoodie that said "Debugger" in faded letters. "Who are you?" Ethan demanded. "Jasmine Chen. I'm David's daughter, your head of security. He told me you were in trouble." She stepped into the room, opened her laptop. "I specialize in digital forensics. If there are backups, I can find them. If they're encrypted, I can crack them. But I need full access to your systems." Ethan looked at his mother. Evelyn nodded. "Do it," he said. Jasmine worked through the night, fingers flying across the keyboard, muttering code to herself. Nora brought coffee. Evelyn kept notes. Ethan paced, unable to sit still. At 6 a.m., Jasmine leaned back. Got it. She turned the laptop screen. Rows of files, time-stamped and authenticated. These are the original server logs from March through June of last year. Every transaction, every signature, every access point, and look. She highlighted a series of entries. These access logs show Richard Brennan logged into your account 17 times using administrator override. He had root access. He could create documents, forge signatures, and backdate timestamps. Can you prove it? Already did. I pulled the IP addresses. Cross-referenced them with building security logs. Every single time Richard accessed your account, he was physically in the building. And your security key card shows you weren't. She pulled up another screen. Here, March 15th, 3:47 p.m. Richard accessed your account from your office, but your key card logged you exiting the building at 6 a.m. for your flight to Tokyo. You were 30,000 feet over the Pacific when that signature was supposedly made. Nora exhaled. That's evidence. That's a smoking gun, Jasmine corrected. With this plus the paper trail, plus witness testimony from anyone who can confirm Richard had motive, you can bury him. Ethan sat down slowly. We need a witness. Someone credible who can testify to Richard's motive and access. What about Patricia? Nora asked. Your PR director. She was at the company during all of this. She's already been interviewed by the SEC. She claimed ignorance. Then we find someone else. Evelyn wheeled forward. What about his assistant? Richard's assistant from last year. She'd know his schedule, his access codes. Miranda Reyes, Ethan said slowly. She resigned right after Richard did. Moved to Boston. Find her, Nora said. Offer her immunity, protection, whatever she needs. If Richard forced her to help, she has motive to talk. Ethan pulled out his phone. I'll have David track her down. They spent the next 12 hours building the case. Paper evidence, digital forensics. A sworn statement from Miranda Reyes delivered via video call, confirming that Richard had pressured her to alter documents and purge files. She'd been terrified to speak up, afraid of retaliation, but the weight of complicity had been eating her alive. By midnight they had everything. A complete, verifiable, airtight case. Ethan looked at Nora across the desk. I owe you. Don't. She held up a hand. We're not doing this now. First we clear your name, then we figure out the rest. He nodded. Agreed. The Ward townhouse looked different at night. Shadows deep, windows dark except for a single light in the study. Nora stood on the porch for a full minute before she rang the bell. Evelyn answered. She looked smaller than Nora remembered, frailer, and there were new lines around her eyes. Thank God, she breathed, pulling Nora inside. I was afraid you wouldn't come. What happened? Come upstairs, I'll show you. The study was chaos. Papers covered every surface. Bank statements, emails, contracts, ledgers. Ethan sat at the EO. Desk, shirt sleeves rolled up, hair uncombed. Dark circles carved beneath his eyes. He looked up when they entered, and his expression cycled through surprise, relief, and something that looked like shame. You came, he said. Your mother called. 17 times. Nora stayed by the door. What's going on? Someone's trying to frame me. He gestured at the papers. These transactions, the offshore accounts, the real estate deals, I didn't authorize any of them, but my signature is on every document. Forged? Perfectly forged. Right down to the pressure points in my pen strokes. He stood, picking up a contract. Look, this is dated March 15th, supposedly signed by me at 3:47 p.m., but I was in Tokyo that day. I have the flight records, the hotel receipts, the meeting notes. Nora stepped closer, examining the signature. Who had access to your documents? Board members, executive assistants, my legal team. He set the contract down. It's a long list. But one name keeps appearing, Evelyn said quietly. She wheeled forward and tapped a stack of papers. Richard Brennan, Former board member. He was at every meeting where these deals were discussed. He had access to Ethan's office, and he resigned 3 weeks before the story broke. Nora's stomach tightened. The man from the gala? Yes. Ethan met her eyes. He asked about you that night. Personal questions. I thought he was fishing for leverage. I didn't realize he was already building a case. Why would he do this? Because I blocked his merger. 15 months ago, he wanted Ward Enterprises to acquire a tech startup. Looked good on paper, but the due diligence revealed financial irregularities. I killed the deal. He lost millions in anticipated stock options. Ethan's jaw tightened. He's been waiting for revenge. Nora looked at the mountain of evidence. Can you prove he forged these documents? Not yet. We'd need the original files, the ones with the genuine timestamps and authentication codes. But Richard had them purged from the server when he resigned. There are backups, but they're encrypted. My IT team has been trying to crack them for 8 days. What happens if you can't? The SEC investigation continues. The board votes me out. Ward Enterprises gets dismantled and sold for parts. Everything my mother and I built for 20 years, gone. The silence stretched, heavy with impossible odds. Then Evelyn spoke. But we have something Richard doesn't. Both Ethan and Nora turned to her. We have the paper trail, Evelyn continued. The physical documents. When Ethan started the company, I kept copies of everything. Old habit from when his father left us with nothing. She gestured to a file cabinet in the corner. I have the original contracts, the real signatures, the board meeting minutes, everything filed by date. Ethan stared at his mother. You kept paper records for 20 years? I'm old-fashioned. Sue me. She smiled. Start looking. March 15th. If Ethan was in Tokyo, there can't be an original signature from that day. They tore through the files. Nora organized by date while Ethan cross-referenced against the forged documents. At 2 a.m., they found it. The March 15th contract. The original, unsigned, with a note in the margin, postponed, EW traveling. Reschedule April 2. There, Nora said, holding it up. This proves you never signed in March. The forged version has to be fabricated. But we still need the digital evidence, Ethan said. The server logs, the metadata. Without those, a good lawyer can argue the paper trail was manipulated too. Then we find someone who can break the encryption. A voice from the doorway made them all jump. I can help with that. A young woman stood there, mid-20s. Black hair pulled back in a messy bun, laptop under her arm. She wore jeans and a hoodie that said debugger in faded letters. Who are you? Ethan demanded. Jasmine Chen. I'm David's daughter, your head of security. He told me you were in trouble. She stepped into the room, opened her laptop. I specialize in digital forensics. If there are backups, I can find them. If they're encrypted, I can crack them. But I need full access to your systems. Ethan looked at his mother. Evelyn nodded. Do it, he said. Jasmine worked through the night, fingers flying across the keyboard, muttering code to herself. Nora brought coffee. Evelyn kept notes. Ethan paced, unable to sit still. At 6 a.m., Jasmine leaned back. Got it. She turned the laptop screen. Rows of files, time-stamped and authenticated. These are the original server logs from March through June of last year. Every transaction, every signature, every access point, and look. She highlighted a series of entries. These access logs show Richard Brennan logged into your account 17 times using administrator override. He had root access. He could create documents, forge signatures, and backdate timestamps. Can you prove it? Already did. I pulled the IP addresses. Cross-referenced them with building security logs. Every single time Richard accessed your account, he was physically in the building. And your security keycard shows you weren't. She pulled up another screen. Here, March 15th, 3:47 p.m. Richard accessed your account from your office, but your keycard logged you exiting the building at 6 a.m. for your flight to Tokyo. You were 30,000 feet over the Pacific when that signature was supposedly made. Nora exhaled. That's evidence. That's a smoking gun, Jasmine corrected. With this plus the paper trail, plus witness testimony from anyone who can confirm Richard had motive. You can bury him. Ethan sat down slowly. We need a witness. Someone credible who can testify to Richard's motive and access. What about Patricia? Nora asked. Your PR director. She was at the company during all of this. She's already been interviewed by the SEC. She claimed ignorance. Then we find someone else. Evelyn wheeled forward. What about his assistant? Richard's assistant from last year. She'd know his schedule, his access codes. Miranda Reyes, Ethan said slowly. She resigned right after Richard did. Moved to Boston. Find her, Nora said. Offer her immunity, protection, whatever she needs. If Richard forced her to help, she has motive to talk. Ethan pulled out his phone. I'll have David track her down. They spent the next 12 hours building the case. Paper evidence, digital forensics. A sworn statement from Miranda Reyes delivered via video call, confirming that Richard had pressured her to alter documents and purge files. She'd been terrified to speak up, afraid of retaliation, but the weight of complicity had been eating her alive. By midnight they had everything. A complete, verifiable, airtight case. Ethan looked at Nora across the desk. I owe you. Don't. She held up a hand. We're not doing this now. First we clear your name, then we figure out the rest. He nodded. Agreed. The SEC hearing took place in a downtown office building. A conference room packed with lawyers, board members, and 2 agents in identical gray suits. Richard Brennan sat on the opposite side of the table, perfectly composed in his navy suit, expression confident. He didn't know what was coming. Ethan's attorney, Diane Foster, opened the proceedings. Thank you all for convening on short notice. My client has new evidence that conclusively disproves the allegations against him and identifies the true perpetrator of financial fraud within Ward Enterprises. Richard's lawyer stood. Your Honor, this is highly irregular. There's no judge here, Diane interrupted. This is an SEC inquiry, not a trial. Yet, my client has the right to present exculpatory evidence. If you'd prefer to move directly to formal charges, we can arrange that. The lead SEC agent, a woman named Torres, gestured for Diane to continue. First, the paper trail. Diane laid out the original contracts, each one marked with Evelyn Ward's meticulous filing system. These documents prove that Mr. Ward never authorized the transactions in question. Note the dates, the absence of genuine signatures, and the margin notes indicating postponement. Paper records can be fabricated, Richard's lawyer said smoothly, which is why we have digital forensics. Jasmine stood, connecting her laptop to the conference room screen. These are the original server logs recovered from encrypted backups. They show unauthorized access to Mr. Ward's accounts by Richard Brennan on 17 separate occasions. She highlighted the entries. Each access coincides with the creation or modification of fraudulent documents. Richard's confident expression cracked. Those logs are clearly manipulated, authenticated by 3 independent cybersecurity firms, Jasmine said calmly. I have their reports here. Additionally, I cross-referenced the access times with building security footage. She pulled up a series of still images. Here's Mr. Brennan entering Ethan Ward's office on March 15th at 3:32 p.m. Here's the keycard. Log showing Mr. Ward exited the building 12 hours earlier for his flight to Tokyo. Here's the server. Timestamp showing Mr. Brennan accessed the account at 3:47 p.m. 15 minutes after entering the office. The room went silent. Agent Torres leaned forward. Mr. Brennan, do you have an explanation for these discrepancies? Richard's lawyer whispered something urgent. Richard waved him off. I had administrative access to multiple accounts. It was part of my role as board member. These access logs prove nothing. They prove opportunity, Diane said. Now let's establish motive. She pulled up a presentation. 15 months ago, Mr. Brennan proposed a merger with Technova Solutions. The deal would have netted him personally $12 million in stock options. Mr. Ward killed the deal after due diligence revealed Technova was under investigation for securities fraud. 3 months later, Technova collapsed. If that merger had gone through, Ward Enterprises would have lost hundreds of millions and faced its own investigation. Ethan blocked a legitimate business opportunity out of personal animosity. Richard said, voice tight. He's always been risk-averse to the point of cowardice. Is that why you forged his signature? Nora's voice cut through the room. Every head turned. She sat in the back row, arms crossed, staring directly at Richard. She hadn't planned to speak, but something in his smug dismissal unlocked the anger she'd been holding for weeks. Richard's eyes narrowed. Excuse me? You heard me? Nora stood. You tried to destroy a man because he wouldn't let you profit from fraud. And when that didn't work fast enough, you targeted his personal life. You used me as a distraction, planted stories, made him look unstable. She stepped forward. I was at the gala. I remember you asking questions about me, about his mother, about his schedule. You were gathering ammunition. Who is this woman? Richard demanded. Nora Bennett, Agent Torres said, checking her notes. Owner of Sugar and Tide Bakery. She's been named in several of the recent articles as Mr. Ward's romantic interest. Then she's biased, Richard's lawyer said. This is clearly a coordinated attempt. We have a witness, Diane interrupted. She gestured to the video screen. Miranda Reyes appeared, sitting in a Boston law office, camera angle professional. Ms. Reyes, please state your name and former position. Miranda. Reyes, I was Richard Brennan's executive assistant from 2023 to 2025. And what can you tell us about Mr. Brennan's activities regarding Ward Enterprises? Miranda took a breath. He asked me to access Mr. Ward's accounts multiple times. He said it was for routine audits, but I knew it wasn't. He had me print documents, alter timestamps, and purge files from the server. When I questioned him, he threatened to ruin my career. Her voice shook. I was scared. I needed the job. So I helped him, and I've regretted it every day since. Richard shot to his feet. She's lying. She was fired for incompetence. I have emails, Miranda continued. Detailed instructions from Mr. Brennan telling me exactly which files to alter and when. I saved everything because I knew this day would come. Diane pulled out a thick folder. We have those emails, date-stamped, with metadata confirming they originated from Mr. Brennan's personal account. The SEC agents exchanged glances. Agent Torres closed her folder. Mr. Brennan, we're going to need you to come with us for formal questioning. This is absurd. Now, Mr. Brennan. Richard's composure shattered. He looked at Ethan, and for the first time there was real fear in his eyes. You can't prove intent. Any good lawyer will argue. We don't need to argue, Ethan said quietly. The evidence speaks for itself. You tried to destroy me because I wouldn't compromise my principles. You failed. Richard was escorted out by 2 agents, still protesting, his lawyer scrambling to keep up. When the room cleared, Diane shook Ethan's hand. That was the most airtight case I've seen in 20 years. Congratulations. Thank you. Ethan looked at Jasmine. Send me your invoice. Whatever you charge, triple it. I'll settle for a job offer, Jasmine said, closing her laptop. Your IT security is terrible. I can fix that. You're hired. Jasmine grinned and left. Only Nora remained, standing by the door. Ethan walked over slowly, like approaching something fragile. You didn't have to come, he said. Yes, I did. She met his eyes. Not for you. For the truth. Nora, let me finish. She took a breath. You hurt me. When you hesitated in that conference room, when you let Patricia talk about stepping back, you made me feel like I was a problem to be managed instead of a person worth fighting for. That hurt, it still hurts, I know. But I also understand now. She gestured at the empty conference room. You've spent your life protecting people. Your mother, your company, your employees. You're so used to being the one who fixes things that you forgot how to let someone else fight alongside you. She stepped closer. I don't need you to protect me from your world. I need you to trust me enough to let me stand in it with you. His throat worked. Can you forgive me? Eventually, she almost smiled. But you're going to have to work for it. How? Start by being honest. No more PR strategies. No more managed responses. Just you, unfiltered, telling me what you actually feel. He nodded. I'm terrified of losing you. I'm terrified of being the reason you get hurt. And I'm terrified that I've already destroyed the best thing that's ever happened to me. Better. She reached out and straightened his tie. A small gesture, intimate. Now let's get out of here. Your mother is waiting, and I promised her lemon tarts. 3 months later, Sugar and Tide had a line out the door. The publicity from the SEC case, Baker helped CEO expose fraud, had turned Nora into an unlikely media darling. Orders tripled. A food magazine wanted a feature. Someone offered to franchise the bakery. Nora turned them all down. "I don't want to be famous," she told Maya, piping buttercream roses onto a wedding cake. "I just want to bake." "Then stop being so photogenic when you solve white-collar crimes." Nora laughed. The door chimed. She looked up and her heart did the stupid flutter thing it always did when Ethan walked in. He'd changed in the past 3 months. Not dramatically. He still wore tailored suits and moved with careful precision. But there was an ease to him now, a looseness in his shoulders that hadn't been there before. He smiled more, laughed occasionally, showed up at the bakery just to sit at the counter and watch her work. "Your usual?" Maya asked, already reaching for the coffee pot. "Actually, I'm here to steal your boss." He looked at Nora. "If she has time." "For what?" "It's a surprise." "Come on." She untied her apron, told Maya to handle the 3 o'clock pickup, and followed Ethan out to his car. They drove south along the coast, past the townhouse, past the stretch of beach where she'd parked and cried 3 months ago. "Where are we going?" she asked. "You'll see." They pulled up to a building she didn't recognize. Brick facade, large windows, a for sale sign being taken down by 2 workers. Ethan parked and killed the engine. "What is this?" "Come inside," and the space was enormous. Exposed beams, polished concrete floors, industrial lighting. A commercial kitchen occupied the back half, all stainless steel and modern equipment. The front had room for tables, a long bakery case, maybe even a small seating area. Nora walked through slowly, taking it all in. "Ethan, it's yours, if you want it." He stood by the door, hands in his pockets. "You said you were working 16-hour days in a kitchen half this size. You said you'd been turning down orders because you couldn't keep up. So I found you a space. Better location, better equipment, room to expand. I can't afford them. I'm not asking you to buy it. I'm offering to invest. As a silent partner." He stepped closer. "You keep full creative control. You make all the decisions. I just provide capital and occasional taste testing." She turned to face him. "Why?" "Because you supported me when I needed it. Because you believed in the truth when everyone else was selling stories. Because you're brilliant at what you do, and you deserve a kitchen that matches your talent." He paused. "And because I love you." The words hung in the air, simple and irreversible. Nora's eyes filled. "You can't just say that while offering me a commercial kitchen. That's not fair. I can say it whenever I want. I love you. I've loved you since that first night at Marceau when you told me the truth and expected nothing in return." He closed the distance between them. "I love your flour-stained jeans and your terrible jokes and the way you make my mother laugh. I love that you called me out when I was being a coward and you showed up when I needed you most. I love you, Nora Bennett, and if you want this kitchen, it's yours. If you don't, we'll find something else. But either way, I'm not letting you go again." She kissed him, hard and certain and full of everything she'd been holding back for months. When they broke apart, she was crying and laughing at the same time. "I love you too, you impossible calculating sweet man. I love you. So you'll take the kitchen? On one condition. Anything. Your mother gets free cinnamon rolls for life." He grinned. "Deal." 6 months after that, they stood in the same kitchen, now called Sugar and Tide Coastal, during the grand opening party. 200 guests packed the space, eating pastries and drinking champagne and taking photos for social media. Evelyn held court at a corner table, regaling anyone who'd listen with stories about teaching her son to knead dough. Ethan found Nora in the back, stealing a quiet moment between greeting guests. He wrapped his arms around her waist from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. "Tired?" he asked, exhausted, happy. She leaned into him. "Thank you. For all of this. Thank you for taking a chance on a guy with a frozen heart." It wasn't that frozen, just needed the right heat. He turned her around, reaching into his pocket. "I have something for you." It was a bracelet, delicate, silver chain with a small charm shaped like a whisk, simple, perfect. "My mother wore this when she first opened her bakery 40 years ago," he said softly. "She gave it to me last week and told me to give it to the woman who made me believe in second chances." Nora's vision blurred. "Ethan, I'm not asking you to marry me, not yet. But I'm asking you to keep choosing me. Even on the hard days. I'm asking you to build something with me. Not because it makes sense on paper, but because we're better together than apart." He fastened the bracelet around her wrist. "What do you say?" She looked at the bracelet, then at him, then at the full kitchen beyond. A room packed with people they'd brought together, a business they'd built on trust and truth and stubborn hope. "I say yes," she whispered. "Every day. Yes." They kissed while the party continued around them. Two people who'd walked into the wrong night and found exactly what they needed. The moral of this story: real love doesn't need a perfect beginning. It needs honesty, courage, and the willingness to fight for someone even when it's inconvenient. Truth might cost you comfort, but it's the only foundation strong enough to build a life on. What would you have done in Nora's place? Stayed silent to keep the peace, or spoken up and risked everything? Let us know in the comments. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe. We've got more where this came from.